Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and if you know me, you know that I would not throw the term my funnest build yet around lightly, although I kinda would and do frequently. I'd say this is actually my funnest build for Betrayal League. So far, even though I've had quite a lot of fun with Armageddon Brand and Cockspin, both of those characters led me to play a lot of those characters and a lot of the game in general, 8 to 10 hour sessions every day. However, this one, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting just a bit more out of it because the shatters are so huge, the single target is so huge, and I'm getting rewarded for my intricate gameplay. So it is actually probably one of the most satisfying characters I've done in quite a while, and that is largely because of the self-cast process and the two-step process with your Frostbolt Ice Nova, where you cast a Frostbolt and then cast Ice Novas on top of those Frostbolts, showcasing sort of a wave of death going towards the enemies. And then on top of that, we have one of the funnest buttons in the game, I think, at the moment, and that is Vaal Ice Nova. There are plenty of examples throughout this little video of the Vaal Ice Novas, so when the entire screen just shatters and you have all these big AoE Ice Novas chain from monster to monster, that's Ice Nova going to work, and it is one of the funnest buttons out there, I think. Now, before I go on, I do want to reiterate one more time, it is kind of a complicated build to play. It isn't going to be for everyone, and it is going to take a little bit of finesse to get used to this and to actually properly enjoy this build. You do have to cast out Frostbolts preemptively to your Ice Novas most of the time, so that you're not just caught behind while getting damaged by enemies and all of that. You have to place yourself fairly well, you have to dodge fairly well because there is a slight delay to your damage at times. So overall, it might not be for the faint of heart, but if you are willing to take up the challenge and want to build around Ice Nova, I think you will be greatly rewarded. As well as that, my character has about 4,500 life with about 1,500 mana unreserved for Mind Over Matter and a bit of Energy Shield too, so it's something like 6k effective health, and you can obviously go a lot higher than that if you really need to, but this is the sort of stats that I have managed to muster up because that's what I need to sustain myself for the gameplay that I'm doing. At this point, I've done past Delve 300, and I think it's probably one of my best delving characters, so I'm actually going to keep going and try and push into the 400s and all of that, since it is such a good and enjoyable delve character. I've also done countless Deathless Guardian runs, no matter what the mods, several Deathless Uber Elders. These are the defenses and the stats that I need for my character to get by, so by all means, if you would rather, you can build around CI, low life, even more life, more Mind Over Matter mana. Just, you got to tailor the defenses of a build like this to yourself, because for me, this is what I need. If you need more, by all means, go out and get more. Even something as simple as a Blasphemy Temp Chains would go a long way to making yourself slightly tankier rather than having it on the curse on hit to the Frostbolt. And I do mention that you can get much more defense because I have way more damage than I possibly need at the moment. Currently, this is probably my biggest single target character when everything is set up perfectly and the stars align perfectly. So that's including the focus mod that is now on your gear, and you can get some pretty nifty focus damage from that. It's including Vaal Righteous Fire, the perfect Frostbolts, all of your flasks up, Frost Bomb, all of that included. You will have probably the biggest single target you've ever had, and for me currently that's about 8 million damage against Shaper targets. So that's absolutely ridiculous. Once the setup comes together, you can see shortly just how stupid this damage is, and I will also have a very nice Deathless Uber Elder kill for you to watch. For now, this is just a little bit of a huge Vaal Ice Nova action, which has been one of the funnest buttons out there, like I mentioned. And I've also got an all kill to show you because I came across my first all since the Delve League, and holy shit, was he a joke. One of the other things that I did here was I basically never had to do a Chimera Smoke phase, as you can see. If I precast my balls just well enough and my damage lines up just on time as he spawns out of the ad phase, if you kill him quick enough before he actually queues up a single attack, he won't ever do a smoke phase. Smoke phase is actually kind of tough for these type of characters, but you can completely negate it and avoid it simply by outplaying it with huge damage. Now, these are some of the examples of pure single target. Some of these Guardians have extra life and all of that, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to set up infinity damage. Unlike against Shaper, for example, not too hard to set up all your damage, and you can see we are greatly rewarded for it. Like I said, there is some setup involved, so you do have to have the Frost Bolts at the right timing, you do have to have your Arcane Surge going off, and it's pretty focus dependent as well. I've kind of built around focus for the first time in any of my characters just to see where we could get extra damage, how far we could push it, and turns out, yeah, focus is actually pretty damn useful if you build around it. For those 4 seconds out of every 12, you can have huge amounts of extra damage. This is the all that I came across at about depth 315. He doesn't have any too special mods compared to the first one I ever faced, which is just night and day. The difference between my first all, which had all these crazy modifiers, and this all is like the difference between Shaper and Uber Elder. And then there's a few tier 16 Guardians. You can just see the damage and the playstyle. For the most part, it is heavily avoidance reliant, so just don't get hit, forehead, and then do a bunch of damage. And it led me to quite a few successful kills, and I'm still going to do more Uber Elder kills and all of that because this character is so damn enjoyable. Now I do want to go over just a few little clerical things, a few changes and gear issues, and then I'll leave you with the Deathless Uber Elder. So I just wanted to go over a couple of little gear changes here or there, and basically I just changed staves. So I did originally have this staff, and it does look kind of crazy and look like I kind of got a bit lucky creating it. It's got etheric and frigid fossils that went into it to making it. So you can see the 20% more spell damage, that's an etheric mod. And overall, it looks like a pretty decent staff. I did have to rebalance my Wise Oak for the cold resist to get rid of this, so it was a little bit tough to do. And in the end, I managed to craft this thing, which is much, much better than my current staff. We're talking something like 40 to 50% better if you factor in the focused mod. And then this one also looks pretty damn crazy and pretty damn good, but long story short, it's also not that great. All you're really looking for a really good staff is power charge on crit mod. If you just get the power charge on crit mod isolated by itself, so the actual gem level one, so your socketed supports have power charge on crit, then you have a staff almost exactly identical in damage to my current staff, and it is ridiculously easy to do. All you need to do is just get the one mod. You can then regal and annul immediately to just try and isolate that one power charge on crit mod, and then multi-mod it to be something similar to this one, but basically it ends up looking something like this one here. It'll have power charge on crit and the spell damage that's built in with the staff, with the mod by itself. That is just the one mod we're building around. You then multi-mod it. You can put something like cast speed, cold damage there, chaos as non-chaos as a prefix, and then the 33% chance to deal double damage while focused as a suffix as well. So a very basic staff with just this power charge on crit mod will yield you the same damage as my current staff and will be way better than the previous staff that I crafted. As you can see here, my current staff that I made does look pretty fancy, 1.3 million damage per Ice Nova in this current situation. Once you put on the other stuff, you have about 1 million, but you have to factor in the power charge on crit because that does not build in with Path of Building. Tick that, and you have the same damage as my staff. And one of these is so easy to make that it's just ridiculous and criminal how accessible gear like this is at the moment. Once you really want to factor in focus as well, which we only have up for 4 out of every 12 seconds, so I'm not going to tick it all the time for you guys. Factor in focus, you're looking at 2 million damage per Ice Nova, and you have 4 Ice Novas going out at a time, 8 million damage, not even factoring in Vile Righteous Fire. Now the reason focus is so good is because this double damage mod gives you roughly 30% extra damage, and then the focus mod on my gloves, which is a suffix as well, gives you 35% cast speed. All in all, whenever we press focus, we are getting something like an extra 2 links attached to our skill worth of damage. So instead of just having a 6 or 7 link here, we have like a 9 link. Now that's pretty crazy, so focus, I think, in a lot of these cases is fairly worth building around, especially when it's that simple to make a staff. Now, to actually make that sort of staff, the power charge on crit one, if you're interested, it's very easy. You only need an eye level 75 staff, not even something like mine. Mine are 83 because I wanted to get some really good maximum type rolls, which are completely unnecessary, it turns out. You just need a power charge on crit staff, and that takes a level 75 for a decent little roll. So it's pretty damn easy to make these staves, and I do encourage you to make them for your other builds if you really want to. That does, however, factor in the fact that you're going to be pressing focus every now and again, and the way focus works is it will show up on your bars as soon as you have something to focus. So once you have this mod, it will be on your bars and you can choose to put it somewhere. I have it on my R, you get focused, and holy shit, it's pretty damn good. Now that stuff is the main thing I wanted to talk about because it is going to kind of look like I've got expensive shit here, but in reality it's really nothing special. And as well as that, I bought a 6-link carcass jack fairly cheap for my build just so I could max out my Frostbolt for utility. You don't need a 6-link by any means. You can easily drop a faster casting or one of the curses. Or on top of that, you don't even have to be a cultist. If you're not a cultist in the scenario that I'm in, for example, then you probably wouldn't have curse on hit on your Frostbolt. You only really need a 4-link for a Frostbolt. That does leave you a secondary 6-link for something else if you want. Another Val skill like Val Stormcall, or you can use it Combs, or you can just not even use staves in general. You can have like, a Shavs and go low life and have your entire setup there and use dual wield, or a shield and a wand. I don't know, it's really quite flexible and up to you how you build Ice Nova and Frostbolt. I just want to showcase to you guys one version of doing it, which is an occultist, and just how ridiculous this damage can be and how worth it is building around at the moment. So that's my version of Frostbolt Ice Nova. I think it's been very fun, and I'm still going to go a bit deeper in Delve, a bit more Uber Elders, play this character for just a bit longer, maybe hit 94, 95, something like that. But hope you guys enjoyed this version of the character, and I'll leave you with the Uber Elder kill. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Damage is so beyond what is necessary. Doesn't matter. Still gonna fucking look for maximum damage everywhere I can. Almost gibbed him at the same time, straight after he came out of ungibbing territory. Be a ball to pop right around there. Just ran into a lag spike, oddly enough. Yeah, you dropping ground? Fuck. Ow. Mess that up.
Lady.
I don't think I pushed the Shaper over. And that was almost fucked up as well.
Gaze into the abyss.
That's fine. Now we have to run away from these. Kill that guy. Run around a bit. Pop that ball.
Lady.
Okay. How are they all still alive shooting me while I'm trying to blast shit? It's not fair. To stream, thank you for 2 months in a row. That was good. Fucking damage. Big. Big if true. What? Can you even just get one item for Shaped or Eldering? That's terrible. And that thing's average. Fuck. That's a lot of damage.